Stormy Daniels became a household name for shaking the corridors of power with public allegations of an affair with you-know-who that he tried to cover up with some hush money. And his trial is set to begin next month. And the new documentary, Stormy, takes you through her rocky journey for justice.
We all know The View is a trash talk show. It's like a rag sheet, something like The Inquirer or The Star you see at the checkout at a supermarket. Their show is nothing but propaganda and garbage. But I didn't think they would go as low as they have now. Their hatred for Donald Trump is so deep, and it's not because he was president, because when he was president, they know his policies were changing our country for the better. They hate him because he's not afraid to speak his mind, because he has a backbone, unlike the current president and most Democratic men of today. But they have on Stormy Daniels. That's right, the adult film star Stormy Daniels, because the show's supposed to be about how her documentary is now streaming on Peacock and how bad her life has been since she came out and alleged she had an affair with Trump and Trump paid her to keep it quiet. These women, every time I talk about them, I have to say the same thing. They belong canceled, silenced, fact-checked, anything. They deserve all of that because all of that would happen to conservatives if they had a talk show like The View and all they did was talk trash about a person or another political party.
Yeah, so for a while, he was kind of seen like a liberal darling, someone who was championing your cause, supporting you. But when did you realize that something wasn't right with this guy?
From the beginning.
Yeah.
So another rumor is, no, I've never slept with Michael Avenatti. You have to be at least as tall to ride this ride. And
go get him.
I was never alone with him, not even for 5 seconds without somebody, or I was mic'd or something. I was never alone. And for any of you who haven't seen the documentary, or if you're going to rewatch it, watch every clip that Michael and I are in together and watch my face. You can tell, even in that one, that I'm just like, like I didn't buy any of his bull.
Well, then why did you use him in the first place?
Because I didn't have a choice.
Uh-huh.
No one would touch my case at all because either they didn't want to be associated with the adult film business, or they didn't want to go against Trump, or I couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They wanted huge retainers, which I didn't have. And Michael did listen. He did believe me. He had his own motives, but he did believe me. And he only took $100. One of the things that breaks my heart the most about all of this is Michael Avenatti is a brilliant man. He's brilliant and he's talented and he's charismatic, but he chose to use his powers for evil. Yeah. And that is so sad because he has more power than I could ever hope to have because he is a white man and he didn't show his wiener on camera. But he's probably showing it somewhere else now.
And in that lovely clip, she's talking about her former attorney, Michael Avenatti, who is now serving 14 years in prison for defrauding his clients. And, you know, they all joke and they think everything's funny. And she said, I never slept with Mike Avenatti because you have to be this tall to ride this ride. More trash coming out of the mouth of an adult film actress. And then, of course, Joy Behar, haha, go get him, or whatever the hell she said. They're buying into the trash of an adult film actress who's broke, okay? She had her career. God knows how much money she made filming that smut. But apparently she's broke. And now she's going after Trump because if there was hush money paid, it wasn't enough. So they made a documentary about her hardships and about how wonderful of a mother she is and how she's trying to protect her daughter from the limelight. Well, number one, your career choice is garbage. Number two, I do feel sorry for her daughter because her mother is not too nice of a person. I'm pretty sure she could have figured out how to do something else besides make adult films. And they weren't the soft-core films that you might hear of. You know exactly what kind of films I'm talking about. the ones that you can't see on everyday television or cable. This is the woman that wants the American people to believe that Trump is so bad because she had an affair with him and she was going to come out about it, so he paid her to be quiet. Give me a break. She got screwed over by her attorney, who was a scumbag to begin with, but of course she said he was brilliant. They asked her why she went with Alvinati. She said because he's who she could afford. She couldn't afford to have another attorney. He took $100 from her to handle that case. Why don't I believe that? Why do I think that's bullshit? But she claims, of course, again, she didn't sleep with him, but all she had to do was pay him $100, and whatever money she won, she would win. And apparently, he took it all. And I'm not saying the guy's a good guy. He's serving 14 years in prison, so obviously he's a scumbag. And if it was only $100, she should have turned around and ran the other way, because it was quite obvious he had ulterior motives when Stormy Daniels, the famous film star, approached him to take on her case against Trump. But she's so full of herself, and listening to her talk on The View and how they're encouraging it and they're co-signing it, it is absolutely disgusting.
She's just out for the money, or she's a gold digger, or she's a slut. And I'm like, award-winning slut, thank you. But this time around, it's not as many,
Yeah.
Good.
but they're
worse.
But they're worse,
Why do you think that is?
and they're not hiding.
Yeah. No.
They're like, I've had people text me
Yeah.
from their actual phone number, and I'm just like, of course you're a Trump supporter because you're not even good at being bad.
Yeah.
Block that.
Well, they've been given permission.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've been rewarded.
Yes,
I
yes.
said in some interview or somewhere, I believe, that they're more like suicide bombers this time around, where they honestly, truly believe that they are being patriotic and that I am like the devil.
And yes, of course, they called her a gold digger. Okay? But she said, an award-winning gold digger. We know what kind of awards she won. But she's claiming in her documentary, since she publicly claimed she had sex with Trump more than a decade ago, that since then it's reshaped her life, and she has been receiving threats, text messages, phone calls, death threats. And of course, the windbags of The View are feeding into it, because they're all putting it together and saying it's Trump, it's MAGA people that are threatening you. She also claims that she has a couple of horses. I'm not going to dispute that. I don't know anything about her. But she said that someone on her property drew one of her horses out of a barn and fired a rubber bullet at the horse and left marks. Well, being an adult film actress in such a seedy, shady, disgusting industry, why does it have to be a MAGA extremist? It could be anybody, okay? You know how many disgusting people are into that sort of filth? Millions. But of course it's got to be a MAGA extremist, and Trump put him up to it. She says she's received threats on social media with users saying, "I hope you die, bitch." All the messages telling her to unalive herself and saying that she will die and be forgotten, and calling her a slew of vulgar names, insults, and obscenities. And it's robbed her of her life. What's robbed her of her life is the industry that she chose to work in. Bottom line, that's what robbed her of her life. Because if you look at anything connected to the adult industry, it's disgusting, it's vile, and it's something where the abuse of women is so rampant that you wonder why it robs you of your life. Well, Miss Daniels goes by, Stormy Daniels is her film name. Her real name is Stephanie Clifford, and she claims that she's been threatened even before the indictment, and she's feared for her safety and that of her family after she started speaking out against Trump. I'd like to say I feel bad for Miss Clifford / Daniels, but I don't. I feel bad for her daughter because a child shouldn't be around that type of garbage. And I'm not saying she brings her child around it, but we all know today people can find that trash anywhere. And the kid may have to deal with the effects of the business her mother was in. But then they'll probably sit the kid down and say, no, no, no. It was only MAGA Republicans. It was all big bad Donald Trump. You're fine. And I do hope the daughter is fine and has a great life. I really do. I wish no ill will on any child for what their parents may or may have not done. But she was completely sure she was going to die. And she added that while she was on a performance tour, poles in clubs with mirror balls and loud music, she purposely limited her visits home to maintain a sense of normalcy for her daughter. She can't be home more than 24 hours because the press parks outside of her home, and she can't even ride her bike, she said in the documentary, because the paparazzi and the press follow her. And again, this is all because of Donald Trump. Let me tell you something. This started long before all this Trump trash even came out. This woman has had a history of garbage, of threats. In my opinion, and this is my opinion, she's doing it to herself. And I'll go back to Alvinati for a minute, the lawyer. If she really thought he was on the up and up, taking her case for only $100, that tells you what kind of judgment she has, how she judges people, how she sees people. There is not an attorney on the face of this earth, even a starving attorney, that would only take $100 from a person to take on a case that involved Donald Trump. But again, she didn't sleep with him because you got to be this tall to ride this ride. This just goes to show you the kind of TV show The View really is. It's a rag sheet. It's a propaganda-pushing narrative by the left because they really honestly believe that the American people are sitting watching that garbage and saying, wow, they're making a lot of sense. They're right. The Orange Man is really bad. And all those mean tweets, boy, I'm still offended today in 2024. It's laughable, it's nonsense, and The View needs to be silenced, needs to be canceled, because they're doing nothing but hurting this country.